Hello and welcome to Star USA Training. Today is Tuesday, May 20th, and we're talking about what it means to become a licensed customs broker. Whether you're joining us live or watching the recording back, we appreciate you being here. If you are attending live, we encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from today. We also invite you to connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with Star USA on LinkedIn. We're focused on growing our presence this year by sharing valuable content, including industry insights, updates, articles, and training opportunities. And we'd love to connect with you. If you're comfortable, feel free to drop your LinkedIn profiles in the chat, and we can continue the conversation beyond today's session. Today's session is being recorded. After the webinar, we'll upload the recording, the slides, and any additional materials to our website. If you're registered for the webinar today, you will receive an email with that link once all those resources become available on the website. The session qualifies for one CCS credit through NCBFAA. Please note that this does not qualify for a continuing education credit from CBP. Please be sure to save the code given at the end of this session. If you are watching this back on YouTube or on our website later, there will be a different code for the recorded session. It's a question we get frequently. The code for the live session and the code for the recorded session are different, so please pay attention to that at the end. We encourage you to stay engaged throughout today's session. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat anytime. We have set aside time at the end to address as many questions as possible and help you navigate all of the challenges that you may be facing. And lastly, a quick disclaimer. While I am a licensed customs broker, today's discussion is informational only and should not be considered legal advice nor the transaction of customs business on your behalf. If you or your company need additional assistance after the webinar, please do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, that's all the formalities, and with that, let's go ahead and get started. Quick introduction here before we dive in. My name is Michael D. Easton. I am the President and General Manager of Star USA. Star USA provides international trade and compliance consulting, advice, training, and services across the entire spectrum of international trade and compliance. If it involves crossing borders, we've probably done it. We have excellent programs for handling tariff classification, substantive transformation, free trade programs, CTPAT, and much, much more. If you would like to learn more about us, you can find us at starusa.org or email us at train@starusa.org. For this CB course license exam intro here, we are offering a free consult. If you have questions or you want to follow up with us afterwards, you can just schedule a time and one of our team members will meet with you to talk through your situation. And if you are interested in more details or want to register for our course, the link is there and throughout the slides. So you'll be able to sign up with our course if that interests you. A quick note about Star USA and how this kind of all aligns with the CB course and the license exam prep. We were founded in '96 with a mission to equip the trade community with knowledge and skills needed to excel at trade compliance. And nothing is more evocative of that mentality than our customs broker license exam prep course, CBLE prep course. That course was started in the early 80s by Peggy Easton and continued as she founded the company in '96. And we have kept it going for more than 35 years. So it's a very impactful learning program. And today, we're going to focus on what it means to become a licensed broker. The work, the life, the tears, the friends we make along the way, kind of what it means to get across that hurdle of becoming a licensed customs broker. We'll give a bit of a walkthrough on preparing for the exam and getting your license and what to expect from the exam, some tips and tricks, and a little bit about what happens afterwards. One of the tidbits about this industry, whenever I meet new folks in the field, whether it's at a conference or with clients or just talking to people, I always like to ask how they got into international trade. It's been a hobby of mine for over 20 years. The answers are almost always a variation on the same theme, which is, and then one day, there I was, and I've been here ever since. That's how people get into the field of international trade compliance, I find at least. The number of people who step into the field on purpose or with prior knowledge, a vanishingly small number. It's not a highly attractive field in the global marketplace. And a lot of people don't even know that international trade compliance exists as a career path. So for the rest of us, we just kind of started one day and never stopped. For me, I think pursuing a customs broker license is a strictly personal decision, not so much a professional one. Some people might disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey in this field, and maybe there's something in there that will resonate with where you are in your career path, or might make you at least feel less alone. Um, I started in this field more than 20 years ago. In fact, it was 2004, so 21 years ago. But my folks founded Star in 1996. Well, I was still in high school at the time. And after I graduated high school, I went off to college studying to be an English teacher. And after that, I was working as a machine operator in a factory and then later as a packer on a shipping floor. And along the way, one day my folks needed some part-time help at the business doing data entry, and I agreed to help them out. This was back in 2004. At the time, I had no intention of going into the family business. I had no real idea what international trade compliance was. And before I started, all I really knew was that my folks ran a small business and that it could be hard sometimes. So while I was there doing data entry, I found out they were just starting to build their first proper website back in 2004, right at the cutting edge of technology back then. And I was a bit of a nerd back then, and that sounded neat to me. So I stayed on to help them do that, did a little bit of data entry, and then I started kind of helping build out the website. And then after that, I stayed on to help them set up some of their databases. And then later, I made a file server and helped them set up new emails and a new email server. And then I started to learn about free trade agreements. And then I got involved with CTPAT, which was still kind of new at the time. And then I got into classification, and then I started looking at the regs. And then, long story short, now I'm a huge nerd, and I've had my license for over a decade, and I'm still not quite sure how that all happened. It just kind of was one step after the other. The point I'm making here is that I didn't plan for it, but I found out that I liked it. There was always something new to learn and another challenge to face. And professionally, if you can be challenged at work, I think that is extremely valuable. At least it was for me. So now it's been more than 20 years later, and I am still learning tons of new things. I still get challenged regularly on the job. People call and ask for advice about scenarios and situations that are just completely unique, even though they hit on a lot of the same themes that I've been working in for the last 20 years. Each situation has its own challenges. And so with the people I get to meet in this field, there's never any one thread that binds all of us. Some of us got asked to help out one time and we didn't say no. In fact, a lot of us ended up in the job this way. Some of us started in the field fresh out of school, not knowing what the job was, but just answered a job ad and showed up and got hired. We come from all walks of life, all different experiences, and with entirely different perspectives. And somehow the field just kind of works for us. I don't have a way to explain it. So the lesson for today and the theme here is if you ever feel like you're out of your depth, don't worry, you're in good company. Building out your network is a great way to help you succeed in this field. Getting to know people and making connections is actually one of the best ways to succeed, bar none, in this industry. So we're glad that you're here and having this conversation with us. Hopefully you're enjoying your experience in the field so far and you're interested in going further. And if not, that's fine too. That's all okay. Let me get the polls ready. I had to find that button, sorry. Okay, I'm going to launch a poll here just to get a sense for how experienced everyone is today in the field of international trade and compliance. Are you already a licensed customs broker? Have you maybe passed the exam, but you're still waiting on your license? Have you taken the exam, but haven't passed it quite yet? Are you trying to learn about what you're getting yourself into if you were to keep going? Does somebody recommend the idea of pursuing a license to you and now you're kind of digging in? Are you completely new to the industry, but you want to start out somewhere? Or have you just heard about tariffs recently and you thought, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. I just can't wait to get involved in that industry. Nothing could be more fun than tariffs. I'll give you a few more seconds here. Those of you that are answering about the tariffs, well done. Well done. Okay, we'll wrap it up in about 10 seconds. There we go. Share results. Okay, so we've got a fair bit of mix for the people here. I noticed that anybody that has currently passed the exam but still waiting on their license is not interested in attending this session. That's very good to know. A lot of you are trying to learn about what you're getting yourself into, and that's fair. I think those of you that have some familiarity in the industry and are wanting to take the next step, but aren't sure what it's going to require of you and what you're going to have to put into it and what you're going to get out of it. I think this is a good place for you. If you were recommended to take this session or find out more by a boss or a friend or a colleague or your own conscience even, I think this is a great place to get a sense of what that ask actually means. Because as we'll kind of learn here, it's not a simple undertaking. And I'll advocate for finding a different motivator than somebody thought it was a good idea, but we'll get to that part in a bit here. But welcome to everyone, and we are glad that you joined us. Okay, we are going to move along, but I clicked on the wrong thing, so give me a moment. There we go. Okay, so what does it mean to be a licensed customs broker? In this field of trade compliance, knowledge comes first. It is an extremely essential part of the job, and it's important to know what path you're on and where it's leading you. For those of you that are kind of beginning this journey, this information that you're getting today is really meant to help you see what kind of footing you're on or what kind of adjustments you might need to make in order to take those next steps. We'll look at some of the facts, some of the benefits and responsibilities of being a licensed customs broker, some of the opportunities and challenges that you might be facing. So it's important, I think, to get a lot of information out there first so that you can make an informed decision. In my experience, the less informed your decisions are, the worse they are. So hopefully, with that in mind, we'll be able to unpack some of the things that are really impactful here. Starting with recognizing the fact that becoming a licensed customs broker is not easy. If you do get your license, you'd be part of an elite group of uniquely qualified industry professionals. Passing the exam is no small feat. Those of us that have passed the exam, I don't think any one of us would say, yeah, that was easy, go for it, you're going to do fine with a little bit of, just with a little bit of studying. I think universally across the board, you'll hear many people having taken the exam multiple times, having invested hundreds of hours in studying and preparation, having spent thousands of dollars in prep. That is a very, very common theme. The national pass rates for the exam have actually been trending high for the last two exams. 30 and 24% are pretty high. The running average is somewhere in the 50 to 20% range. The lowest in recent history was April 2023, but had a 5.5% pass rate. There was an exam in 2012 that had a 1.5% pass rate. This test has a notoriously low pass rate, and there are a lot of possible reasons for those low pass rates. One of the most significant is probably the amount of preparation that people put in before they show up for the exam. Unlike the bar exam or the CPA exam, the industry supporting the customs broker license exam is remarkably sparse. The demand for brokers is much lower than CPAs or lawyers, but the test isn't really any easier than those tests. It's definitely a different field of study. There are different formats and things like that. But in my experience, the amount of prep people put in directly correlates to the amount of success that they're going to have. I've seen people at my exam in 2014, people who were literally unwrapping their materials at the exam site. That is no way to begin your preparations on the day right before the exam starts. Unpacking materials, not sorted, not tabbed, not organized. There are definitely ways to pass on your first try, but that's not one of them. You definitely need to be prepared to pass if you're going to try and do it on your first try. And it is not at all uncommon to retake the exam. There are no limits on retakes. The limitation really is the calendar. There are only 2 tests offered per year, but you can take the test as many times as you like to pass. And when I took the test in 2014, the national pass rate was 17%. At present, there are about 15,000 active LCBs, licensed customs brokers in the US, and about 2,600 take the exam each year. Bureau of Labor and Statistics projects job growth of 5 to 10%, although that is not taking into account the recent upheaval in international trade and compliance and tariffs in the recent news. So I'm very curious to see what the forecasts for growth are going to be next year based on this year's data information. There are certainly a lot more questions being asked of brokers and a lot more interest in the field than there has been in previous years. So the future looks pretty strong. And one of the things that I tend to reinforce on several of my webinars is the concept that global trade isn't really ever going to go away. It might change shape, it might take on different characteristics, but global trade is something that has been brought about over the last 100 years or so. Maybe you could argue for longer than that, but really taking major strides in the last 100 years. And it does not seem to be going away by any stretch of the imagination. So the demand for brokers, the demand for knowledge in this arena will continue to grow in my estimation. Passing the exam is only the first step on the journey to becoming an LCB. In order to even get your license, you need to be eligible. And it's important to recognize what those eligibility requirements are. You need to be a U.S. citizen that is at least 21 years old. You may not be a current federal employee and get your license. And you must possess good moral character. We'll talk about that here in a second. The steps to get your license are pass the license exam, the Customs Broker License Exam, CBLE, submit your license application, and CBP will approve it, and you'll be good to go, which is a horribly oversimplified way to really discuss what is required to get your license. Obviously, passing the license exam is a big step all by itself, and that's going to be a major focus of what we're talking about here today. But there are fees. The exam itself costs $390, plus the materials, plus any courses that you're taking. To submit the license application, it costs $300, plus any additional fees. The license application goes through several levels of review before CBP will approve it. First, it goes through a multi-agency background investigation. CBP will conduct their own review, and then you'll have an in-person interview at your local port. The background investigations will include things like fingerprint analysis, character references, credit reports and financial screening, arrest records. They will look into sort of your moral character as it's stated in the regulations and evaluate whether or not they're going to issue a license. CBP does work to issue licenses within 6 months of applying, but there are a lot of horror stories out there, especially right now as CBP is very much backed up. I know one person that's been waiting over 3 years to get their license. So if you had illusions about getting your license, passing the exam, doing it quickly, I would modulate those expectations currently. Then once you get your license, you will have the responsibility of submitting your triennial status report. Every 3 years, basically you affirm that you're still acting as a broker and you will pay your fees, which are I think they're about $100. I can't remember the exact fee for that. I should have looked that up beforehand, but I didn't. In addition, it is now, as of this year, customs brokers are now required to obtain continuing education credits to maintain their license. Going forward, it will be 36 credits per 3-year cycle, 12 credits per year is how that breaks down, 1 credit per month. But for the 2027 triennial cycle, because the requirement went into effect late, you only need 20 credits. So there are quite a lot of pieces to be attentive to when pursuing your license. Knowing what the requirements are is very important. But what does it mean to get your license? And I'm going to do another poll here. Go back and launch. So which of the following actually require a broker's license? And keep in mind that I'm speaking about this from the perspective of the customs regulations. When I say require, I don't mean your boss requires. I want to know what the regulations say. So what do you need your broker's license for? Do you need your broker's license for a higher salary according to the regulations? Do you need it to start your own customs brokerage business? Do you need it for conducting corporate compliance activity? Do you need your license to work for a customs brokerage business? Do you need your license to be appointed as a corporate compliance officer? And then there are two versions of transacting customs business. Do you need your license to transact customs business on your own behalf? Or do you need your customs broker's license to transact customs business on behalf of others? It's a bit of a tricky question, and you should be able to answer multiple. So feel free to check multiple boxes. Those of you asking about what it means to conduct customs business, I will talk about that here in a moment and provide links to what that means. I know that you may not know what the words mean here, and that's part of acclimating to the environment. I'll give this another 10 seconds. Okay. I am going to share the results there. Hopefully you can see them. So it looks like tied for first is starting your own customs brokerage business and transacting customs business on behalf of others. I will let you know that those two are the only two that require your customs broker's license. You do not need according to the regulations, you do not need the customs broker's license to get a higher salary. However, many companies will pay higher for a licensed customs broker employee to have in their company. Customs broker's license is not required for corporate compliance activity. That is one of the things that you may always perform on behalf of other companies. You do not need your license to work for a customs brokerage business. You do not need your license to be appointed as a corporate compliance officer. And in fact, the word compliance can mean a million different things. Most of the corporate compliance officers that I've worked with are not expert in international trade compliance and certainly are not brokers in their own right. And you do not need a broker's license to transact customs business on behalf of yourself or your employer. So we'll talk about that here in a moment. But I thought that would be interesting to kind of talk about what a broker's license is actually required for. Doesn't mean you have to do it if you're, it doesn't mean you don't want to get one. It doesn't mean it's a bad idea for you, but recognizing what it's actually used for is part of looking at the facts and kind of making an honest assessment of the impact it will have on you. So some of the benefits and opportunities. Absolutely, having your license can open doors for you, but not all doors require that license. And knowing how to use your license to open those doors is part of that conversation. Somebody in the chat asked about customs business, and in the definition of customs broker in 19 CFR 111.1, customs broker is defined as a person who is licensed to transact customs business on behalf of others. There is a specific definition for customs business. I don't have it written down on the slide, and it's not entirely in my head, and I don't want to misstate it because it is a very specific definition, but you can find it in 19 CFR 111.1. Customs business is defined in the regulations, and it has a specific meaning. Knowing how to navigate the regulations is an essential part of doing well on the customs broker's license exam. So that's why I'm pulling definitions out of the customs regulations, because that's where you're going to need to learn. So a license is required to start your own brokerage, and it is required to transact customs business on behalf of others. But a license is not required to transact customs business on behalf of yourself or your employer. If your employer has delegated those tasks and responsibilities to you, that is part of your job, and you're allowed to do that with or without a license. And in fact, many people who have their license that are working for importers are not using their license in the service of working for that importer. A license is also not required for corporate compliance activity. Generally, corporate compliance activity, which is also defined in the regulations in 111.1, The corporate compliance activity is pulling reports and advising your customs broker on classifications for your own business, things like that that are in the pursuit of running your business. Those are pretty much always allowed. Having a license will also afford you some professional opportunities, higher salary, which is a very strong motivator. And I recognize the importance of having those doors open, and I don't want to discredit that at all. It can also qualify you for new jobs. Again, right now with the upheaval in the global trade environment, I expect to be seeing a lot of new job opportunities in importers looking to hire knowledgeable people into their own shop, or consultants looking to bring knowledgeable people onto their teams, or brokerages looking to replace people that got picked up by their clients. There's a lot of opportunity, or at least there should be. I expect there to be a lot of opportunity, job opportunity in this field, just based on the volatility that we're seeing lately. Having a license will also afford you a significant amount of credibility. Just anybody that knows what the customs broker license is will understand what you put in to get your license. And that credibility is well earned. It is not to be taken lightly, because passing the exam is not an easy thing to do. And passing the exam and getting your license will often afford you a great deal of job security, because you will be difficult to replace. That knowledge does not come easy, and companies need knowledgeable people more than ever. And again, if anything I'm saying is confusing to you or you want more explanation, please feel free to use the Q&A portion to submit your questions, and I will take a look at those as time goes on. Some of the responsibilities and challenges you may face. You should recognize that getting your license is not the end of the journey. It is actually the beginning. It's just that first step in that journey. Getting your license generally means that you're going to be facing new challenges. There are some license upkeep requirements. We talked about the triennial status report and fees, and the continuing education requirements, which will be 36 credits per triennial. Working as a broker is transacting customs business on behalf of others and is not transacting customs business on behalf of your employer. It is not corporate compliance activity, and to work as a broker, it does require a license and a national permit. Having your license does not automatically allow you to act as a customs broker. You will have the credential and you will have the credibility, but without your permit, you may not actually transact business on behalf of others. So be alert to that sort of thing. And that's one of the reasons why people that are working for importers directly and have their license are typically not using their license in the work that they're doing for their employer. There are going to be a lot of professional expectations placed on you, and I want everybody to be prepared for those challenges. Having to navigate real world situations. A lot of the customs broker license exam test questions are trying to mimic real world scenarios, and that's one of the reasons why it is so difficult to answer those questions, even when they give you multiple choice and provide you with one correct answer, ostensibly. Navigating real world situations is very, very challenging, and those expectations will be on you. You will be serving as a critical knowledge resource in whatever industry you're in. And you also have to be careful of transacting customs business without a license, which is punishable under the customs regulations. I want everyone to kind of acknowledge that getting a license is not a magic fix-all. It does open doors. It creates opportunities. But real talk, taking on the exam can be really difficult. There's time investment, subject matter, learning styles, bandwidth. All those need to be juggled in order to get your license. And this is a federal license. It's not a state license. It's not an industry license. It's not a private organization. This is a federal license. If you want to dip your toes in to the industry, there are lots of industry certifications that are naturally less intense and more straightforward to get before you get your customs broker's license. For example, in some of those organizations I'll list off here, if you are interested in any of these certifications that I'm talking about, send us an email afterwards. We'll give you links to those people. I'm not affiliated with any of these, although I did recently speak at NASBITE's annual conference here in Cleveland, and they offer a Certified Global Business Professional certification, and that's a proctored exam. It is a legitimate certification. And CBFAA offers several certifications across a wide variety of international trade and compliance content. The International Trade Certification Group is a nonprofit created by and for global trade professionals that has a range of different certifications. The Association of Supply Chain Management, formerly APICS, they offer certifications for logistics, supply chain, and more. And then there's industry groups like the International Compliance Professionals Association, ICPA, that will help you learn more about the industry and learn from peers in the industry. I'm not necessarily advocating for any of these. I'm not trying to dissuade you. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just letting you know what the range of options out there are for you, because I think it's important to make an informed decision about moving forward in this career. And there are likely a bunch more certifications that I don't know about or I didn't mention here on the call. So I apologize if I left somebody out. I didn't put them on a slide for that reason, in particular because I could not be comprehensive. So we'll take a look at some of the steps that you should be looking at before you begin this journey. And I'll walk through kind of one by one. The first step is to decide why. Find your reason why you're taking the exam, why you want your license. We just talked about some of the things that you don't need your license for. We talked about some of the things that you don't need your license for, but having your license can be very important for. And we talked about some of the things that do require your license. So I want you to think long and hard about what your reason why is. We know it's not going to be fast to get your license. If we're talking sometimes north of 6 months of studying and sometimes north of 6 months to get your license, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a journey that you're on. So it's important to have a really good reason why you want your license. One of the most important things that you can do is justify the effort that you're putting in and have that reason written down, and maybe share that reason with other people in your circle, whether they're in the industry, whether they're at your work, whether they're in your family, whether they're us on this call today. You want to just kind of connect with somebody, whether it's somebody else in the chat here. So feel free to kind of examine your reasons why you're getting the license. One of the best indicators for success in our course is having other people you can talk with and collaborate with. And I want to acknowledge that for a lot of people, including myself, the fear of failure is a big anti-motivator. The dismal pass rates are very intimidating. The prospect of studying is very intimidating. I understand that. It is that way for me. In fact, when I set out to take the exam in 2014, I decided that I was just going to go and fail the exam. I told myself that, hey, this is just going to be a dry run just to get my arms around what the exam experience is going to be like. I'll just go and fail. And I told myself that, so I gave myself permission to fail. And I was going to spend the money, take the test, fail it, learn more from the experience, and do better next time. And that was a decision that I had to make. That was part of my why. I needed to know more about what taking the exam was. So I had to give myself that green light to fail. Knowing what the pass rates are, I couldn't realistically expect to have a different outcome. One in 7 people fail the test. Or I'm sorry, 1 in 7 pass the test. 6 in 7 fail. That's not a great statistic. So for me, there was power in deciding to fail. And that was part of me finding my why. Maybe that doesn't work for you. That's fine. I'm not trying to say that is the right decision for everybody to make, but that was part of my journey. And I felt like that was the only way that I was going to be able to move forward. It was to lower my own expectations, lower everybody else's expectations, and just be out there just to experience it. And that was very effective for me. The next thing you should be doing is preparing. One of the best ways to prepare is to find a course. Find a prep course that will actually be devoted to preparing for and passing the exam. Star USA has its course. Obviously, that's one of the reasons I'm talking to you today, is because we have a course. But we're not the only course in town. We're not the only one out there doing this. It's important to find a course that is going to work for you. There are a lot of great educators out there. There are a lot of people that are invested in people succeeding. Find somebody that's going to understand your position and work with you to help you pass the exam, because that's ultimately the purpose, is to pass the exam and get that license. You can I do want to also say that you can take the exam without studying for it. I don't think anybody that has their license would recommend that. Studying is hard. I get that. It does require discipline, and there's a lot of self-motivation required. I totally get that. But if you're setting out to pass the exam, taking a course is probably your best ticket to do that. You want your course to be updated, to have access to learning materials, and work for different learning styles, or at least work for your learning style. And you want to be able to engage with your instructor and feel comfortable asking questions. Making sure that you're understanding the material is one of the best ways to do well on the exam. Make sure that the course is built around homework and practice with real exam questions and scenarios. CBP publishes all of the past exams and answers. Taking those past exam questions is a great way to understand what you're going to be facing in the exam. Make sure there's opportunity for there to be group work. You definitely want to be having some study partners or some people to collaborate with and discuss challenging questions with. And then you should be taking a timed final exam or series of exams. Definitely put the time limit on there because it is a timed exam. You have 4.5 hours for 80 questions, so you definitely want to practice doing that. People routinely report that 4.5 hours was either not enough time or just barely enough time to complete all the questions. Also, keep in mind that if you're pursuing a course for your current job, your employer may be willing to cover some or all of the costs for you. You should be your own advocate in this. If there is a course out there that you like that costs money that you're not really ready to spend, talk to your employer. That is usually a good way to get them invested and also give you some external motivation because other people have skin in the game. Or it might be terrible for you and don't do that. But just an idea out there. After you've got your course and your materials, you want to begin assembling those materials. The assembly process is actually one of the most effective ways to familiarize yourself with materials. Going through the pain in the butt that it is to get all those materials together, figure out where the labels and tabs need to go, put them in order, and understand all that. That exercise is important all by itself. The test is open book and open note. You're not allowed to use any outside electronic devices, but you can use all those paper materials and bring them with you, have them color-coded, have them highlighted, have them tabbed, have them organized in whatever manner you've been studying, and have that at your fingertips. There are some required reference materials that CBP gives you, the HTS-US, the Code of Federal Regulations Title 19, the ACE entry directives. There's a list later on. I'll get to that. And there's also a list on the link here. Assembling your materials is so important to actually understanding where things are going to be, because being able to find them quickly is one of your best tools to go quickly in the exam. Okay, and then you need to be studying. The exam, you should expect to spend between 10 and 30 hours per week studying. You can cut that time down, or you may need to increase that time based on your level of experience in the field. But on average, looking at that 10 to 30, about 20 hours a week, 25 hours is not at all uncommon. If you're not prepared to spend that much time, and we're talking about over the course of 16 to 17 to 20 weeks, then maybe try and get further ahead before you go into the exam so that you're not having to invest so much time up front. Take more time on the calendar to avoid having to spend so much time condensed. The exam is 80 questions, 4.5 hours. They do publish all of the past exams, although when I was looking at recently, they only go back a few years now. So maybe the older exams are still out there on the web, but certainly at least the last 3 or 4 years are out there. You do need to be familiar enough with your materials to quickly find anything that you're going to need. This ties in with the assembly process, but also part of your studying process. We're talking thousands of pages and items of reference. When racked up, material is equivalent to a 2-foot wide book. If you're holding a book in your hands, about 2 feet long. I'm going to show you what that looks like here. These are the books. This is the HTS-US and the customs regulations. It's long. It's a big deal. And you do bring this with you into the exam. You can have these in 3-ring binders. I like the catalog rack. I'm kind of old school that way. But there are different ways to bring the material in, and you can have them and use them as you're taking the exam. Color coding, tabbing, all these things are very important ways to do a good job on the exam. If you find yourself struggling with a time investment, this is when it's a good idea to remind yourself about the reason that you're doing it. If you have a good why, you'll be able to muster up the energy to go forward with it. Or you'll recognize that your why maybe wasn't a good enough reason. But you really want to be reminding yourself what you're shooting for and why you're doing it. And then during the study process is when that comes in the most valuable. Oh, and then no later than 30 days before the exam, you need to register. You can register early to secure your spot. Some of the exam sites do fill up, especially in the major metropolitan areas. And if they fill up, you may need to go to a different exam site on the day of the exam. And honestly, you don't need that extra hassle on exam day. You want to make it as easy for yourself as possible. Register early, get that all taken care of, have your seat secured. And if you register and pay early, you'll receive an email notifying you when it's time for site selection as soon as those sites become available. And again, remember that your employer may be willing to cover some or all of the costs for taking the exam, not just for the prep course, but for the exam itself. $400 out of pocket is not cheap. Lost work and wages could be also problematic. So talk about it with your employer if you've got that opportunity. It could be worth it. And then lastly, you take the test. It's an electronic exam. It is proctored at a CBP contracted testing site nationwide on the same day. Pearson VUE or PSI have been the proctors. I can't remember which one it is now. But it is an electronic exam. It is on a computer. You should definitely take the practice exam on CBP's website just to familiarize yourself with that format. The next test is expected to be October 22nd, 2025. It's normally held on the 4th Wednesday in April or October. Although last year they had a test that was on May 1st, so that was really confusing for a lot of people. But that's it. You take your test and hopefully you pass and you are set for life, which is not how it works, but that's okay. This will hopefully get you through taking the test and really kind of understanding a lot about what the universe of international trade compliance and being a customs broker really is. Just to torture everyone, I'm going to give you a poll here. This is number 3. I'm going to read it out loud, and I'll give you about 2 minutes to answer. ABC ships line telephone sets with cordless handsets to Mexico. They are classified under 8517.11.0000 for repairs and alterations. Upon reimportation, the owner-importer claims 9802-005060. They declare that the cost for the repair alteration was $10,000 and the line telephone is valued at $3,000. There are no other goods in the shipment. What is the correct duty and MPF to be assessed on this importation? This question comes from the April 2012 exam, which had a pass rate of 1.5%. This is not meant for you to be correct. It's really just to give you an example of what the exam questions look like. There are 80 of these on the test. Another 15 seconds or so. I know I'm rushing you. Okay. I know you're rushed. I know you're on the spot. You weren't supposed to get this right. You weren't even supposed to understand the question. It was really just an introduction to exam questions and to give you a kind of feel for the types of things that you'll be asked. 80 questions over 4.5 hours. These are wordy questions in some cases. Sometimes there is a lot to look up. The answer in this case is C, no duty or MPF is owed. HTS US Chapter 98, Subchapter 2, US Note 3, and 19 CFR 24.23 C11, no MPF for Chapter 98. Additionally, 8517.11 is zero rated for duty, even without 9802. Again, this was, tricky question, easy to get the wrong answer. Nobody had time to look up the stuff, but these can be time consuming to even understand what question is being asked. So I do apologize for giving you guys a mean question, but I did. And I don't feel that bad. Okay, so what can you expect from the customs broker license exam? Obviously, questions like the one we just saw. You want to be putting yourself in a position to succeed, and that can take a lot of different forms. So it's important to kind of recognize what your own strengths and weaknesses are. So we're going to talk real quick about the exam, some tips to prepare, and a little bit about STARS course before we get to your questions. About the exam, don't make the mistake of underestimating the exam. I've said it several times. It is a challenging thing. We want you to pass, and that means coming in prepared. Similarly, don't overestimate the exam experience either. There have been a lot of people that have done worse on the exam than they may have otherwise had the exam experience been less problematic for them. Difficult proctors, machine equipment not working, test site not being prepared, other conflicts with people in the room, not enough space to take the exam. There are a lot of things that can impede your ability to test well in this environment. And it's important to kind of think through and prepare yourself for those so that if they do happen, they will be less impactful on your experience. Again, you only get to take the test once every 6 months. So you want that experience to be as successful as possible. The exam's parameters, there are 80 multiple choice questions, 4.5 hours for the test. It is electronic. You need a 75% or higher to pass, which is 60 out of 80 questions correct. It is offered twice per year in April and October. There are no limit on the retakes. It is open book and open note, and no outside electronics are allowed. And different sites may have different rules about what is and is not allowed to come into the site. I've heard of proctors having problems with pens and stuff like that. So kind of give yourself time, give yourself space to navigate any of those challenges. And remember that the equipment and the proctors are not perfect people, and the test sites are not perfect. And neither are you, and that's okay. Nobody is. We do highly recommend using paper references for the exam. You do have electronic access on the same machine that you're taking the exam to the key resources, the HTS, the CFR, and you might have the ability to search somewhat, but having access to the paper has proven to be invaluable for pretty much everyone that's passed the exam so far. The technology is not where it needs to be in order to replace knowing your materials really well. I'm going to need to move faster here. Exam materials here, HTS US Basic Edition, Title 19 of the Code of Federal Regulations, ACE Entry Summary Instructions, the Right to Make Entry Directive, and the ACE Summary Business Rules and Process Documents. You can get more information at the link there. Some of the exam categories and topics here, entry and entry summary, including partner government agencies, which was added in 2023, I believe. Talking about FTZs and bonded warehouses, warehouse entries, bonds, marking and country of origin, modernized drawback. Classification is a large section of the exam, as is valuation. We'll talk about those in a moment. Broker compliance, powers of attorney, record keeping, fines and penalties, all of those things. Quota, practical exercises, and other subjects relevant. Not all exams will cover all topics. It's important to recognize that each exam is different, and they're going to pull different questions from different zones to basically make you have to prepare for all of it. But there's only 80 questions, and they will not cover all topics every time. And it is almost harder to prepare for the test when the categories are so broad, but this is the scope of responsibility for customs brokers. All right, some exam tips and tricks that you can use. Definitely familiarize, not memorize. Again, we're looking at 2 feet worth of material, thousands of pages. Don't try to memorize. Try to be familiar with the topics and the subject matter, the words, where those things are found. Knowing kind of a sense of it is much more important than knowing the word in your own mind. unless you happen to have an eidetic memory, and then good luck to you. You definitely want to be examining past exams. Review those to learn what types of questions are asked most and where you can find answers. It is also not uncommon for them to reuse questions and only change a couple of details here and there. So being familiar with those past exams is very essential. You want to be organized. The best time-saving thing you can do is have those catalog racks and have them easily to flip through the materials. Use tabs and labels to separate, and then pace yourself when studying and time yourself when taking practice exams. Exam tips. You definitely want to practice classification. Typically, this is the largest part of the exam, 15 to 20 questions out of 80. That is a significant chunk. You want to learn and remember the 6 general rules of interpretation. You always want to check the section and chapter notes, and you want to review customs informed compliance publications, ICPs, on classification to understand how they use classification, how they classify things. And there are a lot of questions that pull from the ICPs on classification because they are written down already and they have told you, so they expect you to kind of be familiar with those. Practice your valuation rules. Valuation is a core concept that comes up in multiple different exam categories. Yes, there is a category that is directly for valuation, but it comes up frequently in looking at transaction value on a different question, or on assists, or on fees, or on how to construct your 7501. Value is a big portion of the exam. I do have a poll here, but in the interest of being kind and in the interest of time, I am not going to have you answer this one. I'll just run through it really quick and tell you the answer. This is a classification question. So what is the classification for a collapsible guitar stand suitable for use with both acoustic and electric guitars? Is it A, 9202.94,000 for guitars valued at not over $100 each? Is it 9207.90.0040 for electrically amplified fretted stringed instruments? Or is it 9209.922000 for parts and accessories for musical instruments of 9202? Or is it 9209.94.4000 parts and accessories for musical instruments of 9207? Or is it 9209.99.8000 other parts and accessories? And if you were to go through, actually, they give you a couple of clues here in the question itself. 9202 are guitars and 9207 are electrically amplified guitars. So when you look at the question, collapsible guitar stand suitable for use with both acoustic and electric, you could argue that equally C and D apply. And because of GRI 3C, gosh, talking too much. GRI 3C, which says when all other classifications equally merit consideration, you go with the last numerically. And in this case, you would go with answer D, 9209.94.4000. Sorry, just to say it one more time out loud. The answer is D because of GRI 3C last numerically. It is a part and accessory for musical instruments of 9207. It is also for 9202, and you could argue for C, but because C and D are equally applicable, you would go with D last numerically because of GRI 3C. Okay, rolling right along. Practice the 7501 and review the ACE entry instructions. You will have some fill in the blanks. It'll give you some partial images and you'll have to kind of complete the entry. Start studying early. You should be starting to study or preparing 3 to 4 months before the exam. Repetition is key, and study your topics and where to find them, those categories that are on the earlier slide. Definitely take your practice exams. CBP does publish them and make them available. Only practice exams that are no more than 3 to 4 years. The regulations do change, and some of the things change dramatically. Modernized drawback completely changed what drawback was. So kind of be alert to that. AI is not going to help you take the test here, so I do not recommend using AI at all in your studying process. Tip 8 is join Start Your Studies Customs Broker Exam Prep course. I forgot this slide was on here. We have more than 35 years in instructing the course. You can register at that link. You can ask more questions for our free consult and talk to a real human being. It's hard to get the answers that you need for you from a website, so definitely take advantage of our team and schedule a free consult. You can book it yourself. The course is about 16 weeks, about 24 sections. You will have 24/7 access to the materials and expert licensed customs broker instructors. 1,500 pages of course material, 4,000 previous exam questions, personalized support, and help with exam appeals. The next course is slated to begin June 26th, 2025, just over a month from now. Some references here. I will be running an in-person USMCA workshop for the Pennsylvania Northwest Commission on Wednesday, June 11th. If you are anywhere near Oil City, Pennsylvania, you should consider coming out. It is $25 per person, which is relatively cheap. So if you're looking at learning about USMCA, please join that. And then we do put out webinars every month on industry and related topics. All of those webinars are available for free on our website. Please go ahead and check those out. Especially if you need continuing education credits, because most of those will qualify for those credits. So again, if you're thinking about getting your license, but you want to talk it out with somebody, schedule a free consultation with us. No pressure, no sales pitch, guidance and support. The team here at STAR is very much invested in your success, not in trying to get you to buy our course. I know that sounds a little bit weird coming out of my mouth because this is one of the things that we do, but the course is for people that want to learn, and we want to help you learn. Okay, so that is the content for today's discussion. If you need the NCBFAA credits, the code right there is right there on the screen. And now I'm going to pivot over to trying to answer questions. And do the best that I can. Those of you that stuck around, please feel free to stick around for questions. But otherwise, thank you for joining us this morning, and we look forward to having a conversation with you. Okay, we have a question. I'm still looking for a job on the trade market, and I cannot find doors that need to be open, even if I am a licensed customs broker. And we talked previously. So if the doors are not presenting, I'm curious about what regions you're looking in. There is a company called Trade Recruiting Solutions that does post jobs. I'm curious what sort of success you've had with them. If you want to reach out to me again after this session, I would be happy to talk to you about which options are and are not working and why, because there could be more at play here. For clarification, can I transact customs business same as those licensed on behalf of my employer, even though I am not an LCB? And the answer is probably yes. I'm not going to give you a hard, firm answer here because I don't know exactly which scenario you're facing and what you're doing for your employer, or what the nature of your employment relationship is with your employer. But generally speaking, yes, any employee with or without a license may transact customs business on behalf of their employer if it is part of their job responsibilities to do so. So hopefully that answered your question. I just took my test April, and the test is 4 hours, not 4.5 hours. And I ran out of time due to this. That is very interesting. Okay, so the April test was somehow 4 hours at your site. I will look into why that would be the case for you, because if it is 4 hours, that would be very important info, or understanding why they would tell you that. Okay, should I wait until the 2025 HTS book is released or buy the 2024 one? For the October exam, it will be based on the 2025 edition. If you go to the exam materials link, which is in here, this link on this tab here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but at the bottom of the page, it will tell you which version of the HTS to use. They will post the correct version basically when they announce the exam. But it would for October's exam, it would be the 2025 version of the HTS Basic Edition. They might have a revised version. I don't think so. No, it'll be the 2025 Basic Edition. For April exam 2026, you would likely still use the 2025 edition. But for the October exam, you would use the current year. So yeah, and just to reaffirm, yeah, if it's October, you would use the current year HTS US. If it's April, you would use the previous year HTS US. Any news on new exam regulations, more offerings, and digital resources? I don't know if there is anything in the works in terms of improving the exam. I know that the focus for customs the last several years has been on getting the electronic exam process to be less problematic for more people, so be more accessible to more people. And they have been covering ground on that front, but they are still not perfect. So I'm not sure if they are going to be even looking at what resources they provide during the exam. I currently hold a CCS from NCBFAA, I presume. Would it be reasonable to pursue my continuing education for that while also preparing for the LCP exam? Yeah, absolutely. The Certified Custom Specialist certification from NCBFAA is a great corollary to a customs broker, kind of a precursor in a lot of ways to getting your license. If you have your license, you can be grandfathered into the CCS certification. I understand. So that could be an asset there. Here's a good question. As the pass rate has increased, should we be concerned the October test will be harder? Unofficially, I certainly am. I have no way to predict. Their patterns on that have not been reliable, but I would be concerned, and I would put that much more effort in going in. The harder exams aren't harder because the questions are harder. It's because I think it's because people are tending to take it less seriously. So if they see a climbing pass rate, they'll think, I've got this. So I think preparation still gets you exactly where you need to be to pass the exam, because people still pass in difficult years, but it's going to be the people that are most prepared and kind of alert to the tricky questions. So I am worried that the exam in October will be harder, but I don't see any reason why it should be. Okay, I'm going to end the recording there. I want to thank everyone for their time. If I didn't get your question answered or if I answered it poorly, please follow up with us afterwards and we will be happy to work with you. Again, if you want to schedule a consult, please use the links that will be posted in the slides when they go up live. Thank you again, everyone, and we look forward to working with you in the future.